First, let me talk a little bit about why casinos in North Jersey would be, in my view, such a bad idea. Let me first ask, by a show of hands, let me ask you a question. How many of you, 2 weeks or 3 weeks rather from today, 2 weeks and whatever, will be the 40th anniversary of the referendum question that passed to amend the Constitution to permit casinos in Atlantic City? How many of you were residents of this area at that time? Okay. So about a quarter of you, maybe a little less. Most of you were not, which is frankly what I expected, but also requires that I take just a moment to explain the world as it existed then and the world as it exists now in the context of casino gaming. When casinos were approved for New Jersey and for Atlantic City in 1976, it was the only location in the United States other than in Nevada where you could go and legally gamble. That was a critically important reality then, because any gaming location, in particular Atlantic City, was what is called a destination, meaning that if you wanted to go to a casino to gamble, you had to get on a plane. No matter where you lived in the country, you had, except for the immediate area around Atlantic City, you had to get on a plane or take a long drive to get there. In the 40 years since then, a number of things have happened. The Congress of the United States, in 1988, enacted legislation that permits Indian casinos in many states throughout the country, and there are many of them. States up and down the Mississippi River decided to authorize riverboat gaming. And indeed, many states around the country, and in particular in the Northeast, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, Massachusetts, New York in terms of the casinos, have done the same. The result of that is that in 2016, gaming is no longer a destination event. No matter where you live in this country, you are no more than an hour away by car from a casino if you choose to go there. That's a very big difference in terms of how the gaming industry is structured. Because it means that what we did in Atlantic City 40 years ago can never be repeated. What we did in Atlantic City 40 years ago was to set up a destination that people would be principally motivated to come to for the purpose of gaming. You can't do that anymore. If there were to be casinos in North Jersey, the people who would patronize those casinos are the people who live within an hour of where they would be. In the North Jersey area and in the southern New York State area. That is until New York puts casinos in Manhattan, which it would do about 20 minutes after casinos would be approved for North Jersey. So the idea of bringing a casino or 2 or 3 casinos to some location in North Jersey as a concept that would grow the market and broaden the casino experience in New Jersey is completely fanciful. The market has its own laws. Those of you who were in business or are still in business know what I mean. All of the politicians and all of the legislators and all of the smart people in the world can think whatever they want to think. The market will tell you, in this instance, how many casinos can survive in a given location. Which leads me to the second point, which is to talk a little bit about the experience of Atlantic City today. Excuse me just a second. The media would have you believe that Atlantic City is in great trouble. Every time you pick up a newspaper or a television or go on the internet, that's what you hear. And I suggest to you that that isn't true, at least not completely. The government of Atlantic City, and consequently many of the residents whose welfare depends on what that government does, is beyond explanation in terms of difficulty and problems. Everything bad that you've read about the structure of the government and the conduct of the government of Atlantic City is true. It's awful. But with an important asterisk that I'll come back to in a second, the casino industry in Atlantic City is not in trouble. It is healthy. It is smaller than it was, for reasons I'll get to in a second. And indeed, with respect to the thousands of people who once worked in it and no longer do, There's nothing positive that you can say about that at all. But in terms of the status of the casino industry in Atlantic City today, the 7 that are operating, they are doing well, thank you. They are employing thousands of people. They are making money. They have a vibrant casino market in Atlantic City. Now, what has happened to turn 12 casinos into 7? The answer to that is in the 3 critical market forces that have operated over the last 10 to 15 years in this country. One of them I've already talked about. The fact that you now have casinos spread all over the nation. A second is, and very important, that within the casino industry itself, the market has made a major internal shift. There are far fewer operating companies in the casino industry today than there used to be. You had a major consolidation within the casino industry. And the result of that is that you no longer have the kind of competition within the industry that you used to have. There's a lot more monopoly to it. One of the major mistakes that New Jersey made some years ago was repealing the original legislation had a 3 license limit for any owner. Now you can have as many as you want. And you got 1 operator in Atlantic City with 4 of them. That's a factor. And the third factor that the market has imposed on everybody is the recession that started in 2007, 2008, and out of which we are just now beginning to climb. As every one of you who's ever been in business knows, when there is a recession, when there is a contraction of the economy, the first loss is in leisure spending. People don't go on trips, people don't go to casinos, people don't go to the movies when money is tight. So if you combine those 3 factors, the spread of gaming all over the country, the consolidation within the casino industry, and the recessionary economy of the last 7 or 8 years, that explains why the casinos in Atlantic City have gone from 12 to 7. And that would have happened in any combination of circumstances. That's got nothing to do with the problems in City Hall in Atlantic City. That's got nothing to do with the politics of this country or anything else. The market has its own rules. Now, what happens if casinos are approved for North Jersey? I'm going to leave out, as I said, New York would then beat us to it. But leave that out. And just assume for the moment that there's 1, 2, or 3 casinos that are located in North Jersey. What is the market going to tell you is going to happen? Very simple. The gaming market in New Jersey will not increase. What will happen is that 95 cents out of every dollar that is spent in those casinos will come out of the casinos in Atlantic City. How many of those 7 will be able to survive? I don't know. Pick a number. It's anybody's guess. 4, 5, 3, whatever the ones that survive, several will not. Because what the casino market in Atlantic City is today will then be subdivided into a north and a south portion. What are the consequences of that for us as residents of this community? Why is it as important as I believe it is to make sure that this issue doesn't pass? You probably already know that the home foreclosure rate in Atlantic County, New Jersey, is the highest in the nation. Not the highest in the state, not the highest in the Northeast, the highest in the nation. Atlantic County, New Jersey has more mortgage foreclosures on residential properties on a proportional basis than any other county in the nation. What does that mean? That means that all of the rest of us are paying a portion of that cost because A, the values of our properties are going down on a comparative basis, and the burdens that our property taxes bear, county government, city government, and the like, go up in any event, and there's that much less of the value in our properties to bear. So it has a direct economic impact on every resident of this area, whether you work in the casinos or you don't, whether your sons or your family members, children do or they don't, whether you know somebody or you don't. This is a community, and these economic realities affect us all. So where does that leave us tonight on October 18th, 3 weeks before the election? We could make a mistake, a very serious mistake. we could believe everything that we're reading in the newspapers and hearing in the media. That the issue's not going to pass. I understand tonight that the New York Star Ledger, the state's major newspaper, editorialized against it. Some of the pro people have pulled out their money and their efforts. Don't worry about it. It's not going to pass. Big mistake. For two reasons. Number one, although I think that I believe that that's probably more likely than not the case, that it doesn't pass, I'm not prepared to wager everything that I've got at stake on that possibility. So I came here tonight not so much to persuade you that this is a bad idea, as to persuade you over the next 3 weeks to use whatever resources you have to help it fail. That means you get on the telephone, that means you go on the internet, that means you go on Facebook, that means whatever social media powers you have, and people that you know, or people with whom you're related, or people that you're friendly with, or whatever, who live anywhere in New Jersey, take 5 minutes, pick up the telephone, put them on the internet, do whatever you need to do to explain to them that it is in your interest, as their friend, as their relative, as whatever, that this fail, and ask them to help you, not only by voting no, but also perhaps knocking on the door next door to them and asking their neighbors to vote no. That's what I came here to ask you tonight to do. Anybody who's ever been involved in politics, I heard this tonight from somebody who apparently indirectly was, knows that one of the first rules is that you never, ever take any election that matters to you for granted. You fight as hard as you can, for as long as you can, until 8 o'clock on election night. So I came here tonight to ask you to join in the effort in ways that you have available to you to help us make sure this doesn't pass. And the last comment I want to make before I open for questions and comments has to do with the future. If this doesn't pass next month, 3 weeks, what happens after that? Does it come back at some other point so they try it again? And I'm not going to comment on that tonight in detail for some strategic reasons, but I am going to say that the higher the vote against the issue on November the 8th, the greater the margin by which it fails, the easier it will be after that to mount the political effort that will be needed to be mounted to prevent it from coming back in the immediate future. So not only do we have the opportunity to defeat this issue in 3 weeks, we have the opportunity to do damage to the effort to bring it back within the next few years. And that's the last reason that I would ask for your help tonight. So with all of that, if there are any questions or comments, I'll be happy to entertain them.
Have you ever changed the law in the state legislature to bring northern casinos online without a referendum going to vote?
For those of you who didn't hear the question, has the law of New Jersey ever been changed so as to allow casinos online? And the answer to that, as in most political questions, is yes and no. if that covers the base for you. Certain types of online activities are permitted online by federal law, and New Jersey has exercised the opportunity to permit the casinos to do that. You have to be physically resident, physically located within the state of New Jersey in order to do that. So that if you're in Philadelphia, for example, you can't gamble online for an Atlantic City casino. And the online operations may only be owned and conducted and operated by licensed casino operators in New Jersey. And that applies only to the kinds of gaming. You can only, the casinos can only put online the same kinds of games that they're authorized to offer in the casino itself. So that, for example, sports betting, which is expressly prohibited by federal law, would not be permitted online in New Jersey. Does that cover it?
What is the sentiment in the North Jersey communities regarding this proposition?
What is the sentiment? My experience tells me that depends on who you ask. I have been keeping my ears open and taking soundings for people that I know in various areas of North Jersey since July. Every week or two, I get on the phone and I take a sounding, this county, this county, this county. And again, I don't like to take anything for granted or accept at face value everything I'm being told, but I have been consistently advised, long before it went into the newspapers, that the issue was in trouble, that the sentiment on the street in the various places where I was taking a temperature was not in favor of it, for a variety of reasons. The predominant view today in the media is that it's in trouble because there aren't enough specifics in the proposal. The people don't know exactly what the tax rate's going to be, or the people don't know exactly where they're going to be located, or whatever. I don't buy that. I really don't. For reasons that are 40 years old, and I'll be happy to explain if you want me to. But my view is that if it's in trouble more likely because people perceive, accurately in my view, that doing it there would A, do great damage to Atlantic City, and B, not do the rest of the state a whole lot of good. And that's what I think is the problem that the proponents face.
Yes, Judge, you talked about the future. Well, you know there's changing demographics.
If you talk about the millennials, they don't really gamble, but they will spend a lot of money. They come, they hire a DJ, and they bring 200 of their friends to the casinos and dance and party all night. So what is the future of the casinos with these changing demographics where less and less people actually come to game?
That's a very, very good question, and it keys directly into what I was saying earlier about the market. The market today, yesterday, and tomorrow, the market will determine how many casinos and where they're going to be. And some people would argue with your description, I do not, that millennials don't gamble. I don't think they gamble in the same way that their parents and grandparents did. But my sense of the market in Atlantic City, for example, is that you still have a very healthy patronage from people that are my kids' age, let's say. You have no idea how painful that comment was. Yeah, maybe you do. Yeah. But the key to it is whether the market in 5, 10, 15 years does what you're concerned that it would do or it doesn't. In either event, for this community, the Atlantic City community, the gaming community, the Atlantic County community, to benefit as much as possible, we have to collectively do what some of the leadership locally, thankfully, is now doing, which is to broaden the base. We have a very successful casino industry. It will remain successful. Now we have to give people other reasons to come here to visit, and even better, to come here to live. Right? And there is now, at the county level, there is a very serious effort underway to what I call broaden the base, to bring more different types of companies, industries. There's certainly enough geographic area to put anybody that wants to come here. We certainly have enough housing to accommodate. We have more than enough housing to accommodate. So the effort is, and it should have been undertaken many years ago, thankfully it's being undertaken now. There's no such thing as too late. To, as I said, bring in different types of commercial enterprises to address that issue.
Thank you.
Okay.
I said, the nightclubs are making money. You go to one of the casinos at nightclub night,
You bet.
have the kids 18 to 25 loaded.
You bet.
You can't even walk in a casino.
Well, the nightclubs, it's 21 to 25, but no, you're for the most part, yeah. But no, you're absolutely right. What I do, I don't gamble a lot. I never did. I'm not criticizing anybody who does. God bless. It's terrific. It just isn't my thing. But I do go frequently to one of the other of the places. My wife says take attendance. I go on a Saturday night sometimes, I go on a Thursday night sometimes, I go on a Monday night sometimes, just to see what's happening. And different times of the year. Obviously, Saturday night in the summer I don't go because I know what I'm going to see. But my experience is the same, that the nightclubs, the restaurants, as well as the floor of the casino are doing well. And if you look at the numbers for the 7 operations that are now in place, you see that by any economic standard, they're doing okay. And you know, it's 7, last week it was 8, and I haven't yet gotten to accept that the market forced the Taj to close. Taj and the union got into a fight that they couldn't get out of, and what has happened has happened. I'm not persuaded that if they had been able to resolve their differences, that the Taj couldn't have survived as an operating and succeeded as an operating casino. I don't know that. But again, the market tells you the answer to that, not the union, not the politicians. The market will define who succeeds and who doesn't, and how many do.
Yeah, I have one. I got this time to stop around. Okay, I have one question, sorry. Now that the 5 casinos have closed, how would the gaming industry in Atlantic City, how would that be affected if 1 or 2 of the ones that are closed kick back in?
And the answer is I don't know, but I know who will tell me. The market. I don't, now you know, I am hopeful that, what's his name, not the other, Blackstein? I don't know him, but I'm impressed by what I read about him. And I hope that whatever he thinks he can do, he will do. I don't know if it succeeds or it doesn't, or how fast it does, or if it does succeed, whether he cannibalizes the existing market or he grows it. I don't know. I'm hopeful. I don't have any problem if there are 8 or 9 or 12. However many casinos the market can sustain is fine with me, but the market will make those determinations, not the elected officials, and not the well-wishers like me.
You documented very well the impact on Atlantic County. Sorry.
I'll repeat the question.
But you didn't go into greater detail on the lack of success that it would have with North Jersey casinos on the entire state.
The question is, if North Jersey casinos would open, what would be the impact, not just on Atlantic City, but on the rest of the state? And the answer, as I've said, in my view, is that the existing casino market, instead of being located in New Jersey exclusively in Atlantic City, will be spread into 2 locations, North Jersey and Atlantic City. And the result will be for the state of New Jersey, with one important caveat, the result will be a wash. The people of New Jersey have nothing to gain, in my view, from the passage of this question. There is a potential, however, if I'm right about the politics, that there could be a substantial loss. And what is that? Let's pretend for the moment that on November the 8th, the people of New Jersey, in their infinite wisdom, decide to approve this question. What happens next? Well, in New Jersey, what happens next is that the legislature has to get about the business of passing the amendments to the New Jersey Casino Control Act to permit and regulate and structure and answer all the many questions that haven't been answered yet about how that will operate. How long does that take? Well, with a running start 40 years ago, it took us from November to June. So it took us 7 months just to get the bill passed. Then it was another year before the first casino opened. And keep in mind that when that first casino opened, a year and a half after the referendum, it was in a building that was already in existence, Resorts International. They didn't have to build it, they just had to fix it. So, how long would it take to build and open that casino in the Meadowlands or in Jersey City or wherever? Year and a half, 2 years? Okay, that's assuming, by the way, that some lunatic is willing to finance that kind of operation. Let's assume that. So you're talking about, let's say, 1.5 to 2 years from now, before the first casino in New Jersey would open. What do you think is going to happen in that 1.5 to 2 years? Close your eyes, travel to Albany, pretend your name is Cuomo, okay? And the people around you and in your legislature are saying to you, uh-oh! You think it's going to take them 1.5 to open a casino in the west side of Manhattan? No. They'll open it in New York before they open it in New Jersey. And the result of that is that the answer to your question is that if you left it alone and it was only New Jersey, there would be no impact on the people of New Jersey. If you assume the development of casinos in New York and New Jersey's casino market, divided between the two locations, is small. And the result of it is that taxpayers of New Jersey get hurt. And by the way, keep in mind, look around the room, keep in mind that the New Jersey statute provided, the New Jersey Constitution provides, and the statute provides that the revenues that the state gets from taxing the casinos in New Jersey go to benefit who?
Senior citizens.
Your citizens. So that funding for those programs could be jeopardized as well.
Are there too many controls on casinos in Atlantic City?
Question is, are there too many controls on the casinos in Atlantic City? And my short answer to that question is absolutely not. There were once. Again, the market tells you. When we wrote the original Casino Control Act in 1977, not only did we control and regulate the operations of the casino, the gaming operations, we had extensive provisions regulating the facilities themselves. You had to have so many areas, so many square feet of convention space, you had to have so many square feet of entertainment space, you had to have all kinds of stuff. Well, when I got to the Casino Commission in 1990, I wasn't, by the way, John made a slight error when he introduced me. I wasn't the original Casino Control. I formed the original Casino Control Commission, but I didn't get there and become chairman. I was the third chairman 12 years later. And when I got there 12 years later, by that time, the market had taught us a great number of lessons. So in the 4 years that I served at the Casino Control Commission, we redid the whole regulatory structure in that regard and got rid of a lot of the unnecessary requirements that the market was going to dictate for itself. Now, in the years since then, there have been as well some serious modifications to the regulatory structure with respect to casino operations. Again, because what was right in 1977 that was not necessarily right, certainly 40 years later. Because we've learned a lot, because of technology, because of what other states are doing, the cooperation. In New Jersey, when New Jersey formed its regulatory structure, the only other one in America was Nevada, and they didn't look anything alike. Now, if you look at the 30 or 35 different regulatory systems in the United States, there's a great deal of homogeneity in terms of how they operate. And you can file an application here that will get the same consideration in other states, simply because they do it all on the internet and whatnot. So in my view, the casinos now, particularly with the changes a couple of years ago, are operating under a very market-friendly circumstance. But still, as residents of New Jersey, you should be very proud of something. We paid a price for it, but you should be very proud nevertheless. In 1977, when we passed the statute in New Jersey, the only other place in America that you could find a casino was in Nevada. And the reputation of the casino industry in Nevada at that time was such that neither Wall Street nor Main Street was interested in casinos. What do I mean? I mean that the idea of casinos in your community, except for the referendum in Atlantic City, was anathema all across the country. Nobody wanted to hear about it because they were afraid of the industry. Wall Street, the investment community, didn't want to hear about investing in casinos because they were afraid of the industry. New Jersey set up a system that was so effective in terms of proving that you could honestly and efficiently regulate and keep honest a casino industry and all of the businesses that did business with it. We succeeded so far in that goal that what did we do? We set up our own competition because people started looking and saying, hey, wait a minute, look what they're doing in New Jersey. You can have an honest casino and you can run it honestly and the politicians won't get involved. So if I'm a major bank, if I'm Wells Fargo or whoever, yeah, I'll invest in that operation. Or if I'm a voter in Iowa or in Indiana, hardly left-wing places, yeah, I'm okay with casinos in my state because I'm not afraid that the mobsters are going to come in here and run it. So our success in proving to Wall Street and Main Street that casinos were okay as an investment opportunity and as a commercial enterprise has led to all of the competition that you've seen now. And we can regret that, but frankly we should be proud of it. Because we were the first jurisdiction anywhere in the world to prove that you could honestly and efficiently and effectively regulate the industry and keep the bad guys out. And we did that, and we are doing it today. Okay, again, I thank you very much for this opportunity. I hope that the most important thing that you take from this is, the most important thing I hope that you take from this is the commitment that tomorrow and Thursday and Friday and next week, you will exercise the opportunities that you have and that you think about, and that you will exercise the opportunities to get on the phone, to get on the internet, to do whatever, and persuade as many people as possible of the wisdom of voting no on this question. It is, by the way, the first question on your ballot. Thank you.